Okay, that's it. I've officially seen everything. There isn't a single thing this place can throw at me that'll surprise me anymore. Hello. Holy shit. What the fuck? What the fuck is that? Who the fuck? Where the shit? How the fuck? When the fuck? Why the fuck? What the shit? How the shit? Holy fuck. Now I know you might be surprised, but what the fuck is that? Who the fuck? Where the shit? How the fuck? When the fuck? Now that I have your attention, nice to meet you. I'm Virtual Trickster, or just VT for short. We met a little while back, sort of, so I decided to pop in to introduce myself properly. Oh, my bad. Here. Thanks. Also, what do you mean we've met before? I think I would remember a tentacle creature peeking through a portal. Well, you did not meet me in this form, but in one of my alternate forms. One of your first days here, an Ignahide student, a weird glitching effect, they accidentally walked into you. Ring any bells? Wait, that was you? I honestly thought you were just an Ignahide student with some kind of hologram. I mean, you ran away without saying a word, which is pretty normal for the people from that dorm, to be honest. Haha. Yes. I was just caught off guard, that's all. I honestly didn't expect to run into someone like me. Like you. Someone from a different dimension. Okay, time out. I'm getting really confused here. What are you exactly? I suppose an interdimensional, eldritch shapeshifter would be the best description. With reality manipulation abilities. And what exactly are you doing here? Simple. Looking for a good laugh. Huh. Well, you see, I gain energy from laughter, be it from my own, or as I later discovered, from others. So I hop from dimension to dimension, observing any amusing shenanigans I come across. Either hidden, or in an alternate form. I have one for multiple different dimensions. It's quite fun. So, do you like, die if you don't laugh for a certain amount of time or something? Oh no, nothing that dramatic. I just get pretty sluggish, or sick if it continues for too long. It's kinda like having a caffeine or sugar crash. I see. It also causes my powers to start dysfunctioning. Okay, but what was with that glitching effect when I saw you? As far as I know, no one else saw that. That's exactly how it should be. But since you're not from this dimension, you were able to see partially through my alternate form. How? Here, I'll visualize it for you. Here we have a random dimension. Everything in a specific dimension vibrates in a certain frequency. It's not something you can actually see, but this is the simplest way I can explain it. Now, if a being outside of this dimension comes into it, even if shapeshifted to look like something that belongs there, their frequency doesn't match everything else in there. That's what causes the glitching effect. And even if the glitching effect was hidden somehow, certain beings and devices could still sense something is off. In this dimension's case, for example, this would mean beastmen, fae, and different types of magical scanners or sensors. But I can tune my own frequency to match the dimension I'm currently in. That way, nothing is able to detect that I don't actually belong there. For example, even Orthus scanners can't detect anything unusual about me, or detect me at all, if I so choose. And as for you, the reason you saw that glitch effect is because you're not from this dimension either, which means you have a different frequency than everything else here. So while my form was in tune with this dimension, it wasn't in tune with you. Got all that? Yeah, I guess. Wait, if you can travel to other dimensions, would you be able to get me home? No. Why not? Surely that would be easy for someone like you. Well, yes it would, but the end result would not be so pleasant. Huh. What I mean is that while I technically could bring someone with me, unless they also possess the ability to travel through dimensions, their physical form won't be able to handle it. In other words, you'd come out on the other side looking like a human smoothie. And even if you'd somehow be able to restore yourself afterwards, your mind would most likely get fractured beyond repair. Okay, I get it. Not happening. I just realized something. If you have an alternate form you use around here, why the hell didn't you use that one instead of just popping in here like that? Well, first of all, if a random student came up to you and told you they're an interdimensional eldritch being in an alternate form, would you actually believe them or assume they're just nuts? Oh. Second of all, a random person from Ignihide, a dorm known for being full of people who rarely interact with the other dorms, going to the misfit dorm could potentially draw unnecessary attention. And third of all, I just thought it would be funny. Sure, I guess I can see your point. Could have given me some kind of warning first. Anyway, so is this what you usually look like? Not exactly. This is technically just one of my eyes and a part of my head. I don't usually stay in my true form in other dimensions. Why? Let's just say it sticks out too much in most worlds and I prefer to blend into whatever dimension I'm currently in. Also, it resembles something that surprisingly many are afraid of, which makes things slightly difficult. So you just stay in another form the whole time. Yes, as I mentioned before, I have multiple ones I've created to fit into different dimensions. For example, sometimes I'm a demon, sometimes a knight serving two mischievous little demons, sometimes a cute little pony, or even a sentient cookie. What now? It makes more sense than you think. Does it though? Oh, but there are few dimensions where my true form actually fits reasonably well, so I don't have alternate forms for those. There's this dimension with a magic theater for example. Quite enjoy that one. I sometimes pop in to have tea with the owner of the theater. He's an amusing fellow, though awfully busy. So you said you gain energy from laughter, right? Yes. How does that work exactly? Do you have to hear it or something? Well, it depends on the source of the laughter, since the laughter from others works bit differently from my own laughter. How so? You see, when it comes to my own laughter, I don't need to hear it, since the physical action of laughing is enough to produce energy, which means it still produces energy, even if I couldn't hear it for some reason. I suppose you could think of it as similar to a dynamo on a bicycle. Also, the energy does get stored up, so I don't have to be laughing all the time. Okay, and does it have to be genuine, or could you just fake laugh if you need energy? It needs to be genuine for it to work. I think it's because they are produced in such a different ways. And the same applies to laughter from others. Speaking of which, laughter from others is something I do actually need to hear in order to absorb energy from it. One of the ways I collect this energy is by broadcasting amusing moments I have witnessed during my dimension hopping to my audience in another dimension. So, it's kinda like those shows where they show people's home movies. Huh, I hadn't thought about it like that, but yes, I suppose it is. But how do you absorb laughter from a different dimension if you have to hear it? That is an exception to the rule. Simply put, because the broadcast is connected to me, it allows me to absorb the energy without me having to actually hear everyone's laughter. Which is great, because could you imagine hearing random laughter at random times out of nowhere, most likely multiple at once? Yeah, that does sound inconvenient. Yes, but my audience's laughter works as a sort of backup energy for when I need a little boost, since it's pretty powerful. Because unlike the energy I get from my own laughter, it isn't affected by my emotional state. What do you mean? Well, you see, given the nature of my powers, certain emotions have a negative effect on them if I experience them for a prolonged amount of time. Emotions like anger, fear, or sadness cause my energy to drain faster than usual, which leads to the side effects I mentioned earlier. But the energy I absorb from the laughter of others isn't affected by my emotions, so it allows me to use my powers longer, even in a negative state of mind. I don't use it as my main source of energy though. Why not? Wouldn't it make more sense to use the more powerful source? An audience can be a fickle thing, and it's not always guaranteed to be there. I prefer to mainly use a source I can be certain of, and save the more powerful energy from a more uncertain source for when I might need it. Oh, that actually makes a lot of sense. So I have one last question. Why did you come here again? Oh yeah, I suppose the conversation got a bit derailed. So the reason I'm here is because I have a proposition for you. What kind of proposition? As I told you before, I broadcast funny situations to my audience in a different dimension. And because this dimension is especially popular, I sometimes do some special themed episodes around holidays or individual people. But since doing the same thing slightly differently is starting to get bit dull, I've decided to shake things up a bit. And that's where you come in. What do you mean? I'm proposing a collaboration between the two of us. What? In other words, I want to give you your own show. What? Why me? Because my audience loves you, of course. And you would also be perfect for the concept I have in mind. And that would be, well, instead of just showcasing amusing scenarios of a specific person here at NRC, I thought it could be fun to talk a little bit more about them. The concept is still a bit open on what exactly to talk about, but who better than the person dealing with everyone's shenanigans on the daily basis? And this wouldn't be seen by anyone here? Of course not. Just like my other shows, it's for my audience only. And how involved would I be in the process? I was thinking we could come up with ideas and write the script together. Then you host the show, while I'll add the fitting scenarios in between. So, what do you say? You know what? Why not? Let's do it. Wonderful. I'll come back later, so we can discuss the further details. Looking forward to working with you. See ya. Well, this'll be interesting.